Week 9 of the Premier League is approaching thick and fast, so it's time for me, ChatGPT, and the Random Football Scoreline Generator to predict every single game in Week 9 of the Premier League. I won last week, and I'm winning overall with 44 points. I'm 3 points above ChatGPT in predicting. So, let's see whether I can keep it up. Time to predict Week 9. Starting off at Ellen Road, it's Leeds United versus West Ham United. And by the way, this score here is the Random Football Scoreline Generator, just so you know. But before ChatGPT predicts, I'm going to predict this game, and it's going to be a close game. I think Leeds United will dominate, because when they lost 2-0 against Burnley, they definitely dominated against Burnley. They had loads and loads of shots, but they couldn't finish. Leeds United aren't playing bad, whilst West Ham United, they are playing bad and not getting good results, because they didn't just get a bad result against Brentford, they played terrible against Brentford. They allowed Brentford to get loads of shots, loads of opportunities, and that's the caveat to the way Nuno Espirito Santos plays. The reason why it works at Nottingham Forest is because the defenders at Nottingham Forest were better than the defenders at West Ham. And defensively, they're really disorganised. A lot of aerial duels they lose out on. The amount of times Brentford put a ball into the box and Brentford managed to win the header over the West Ham player was loads. So they've got a real concern, West Ham. So Leeds United will win this. It's going to be low scoring, but West Ham, your defence was not the best. But the way Nuno plays, he's probably going to still be able to keep it low scoring. But Leeds are going to dominate, and they're going to win this 1-0. With everything I said there, this makes sense. And now it's time for ChatGPT to predict.
Leeds have been struggling to find consistency with just one win in the last 7 matches. Meanwhile, West Ham have yet to find their footing at home this season. This could mean a tight game where both teams manage to score, resulting in a 1-1 draw.
Over to Stamford Bridge, it's Chelsea versus Sunderland. And Sunderland, away from home, you are nowhere near as good as you are at home. So I don't think you're winning this. Do I think you could get a draw? Yes. But after Chelsea won against Benfica, they have been winning and winning. Despite Chelsea having loads of injuries, including Cole Palmer, they still beat Nottingham Forest 3-0. They still beat Ajax 5-1. Benfica 1-0. They beat Liverpool. They're on a roll, Chelsea. And Sunderland aren't perfect. I know they're quite high up the table, and they've had a phenomenal start. But Chelsea, they are still a good, really good team. And they're the better side in this game. I see nothing but a Chelsea win. I'm going 2-1 at home to the Blues.
Chelsea are enjoying a strong run at Stamford Bridge, creating plenty of chances and scoring freely. With Sunderland struggling on the road, Chelsea should capitalise and take a 2-0 lead, keeping their opponents scoreless.
Over to St James's Park, the best team ever, Newcastle United versus Fulham. So, Newcastle United just beat Benfica 3-0. My reaction? We're cooking. I say we, Newcastle, are cooking. Anthony Gordon, wowza. We've got a really special team. I see nothing but a Newcastle win. A comfortable 2-0 win. You cannot say after that Benfica performance that Newcastle are not going to have a comfortable win against Fulham, which are in 15th and that have struggled to score for quite a while. I know you might think Newcastle in 14th. Our performances in the Premier League should put us higher up in the table than 14th in terms of how we actually played. So everything points to Newcastle. I'm sorry, Fulham, but you haven't impressed me enough. This season you have not impressed me. And Newcastle at home, it's just going to click. 2-0. Nek Voltemada, Anthony Gordon, Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes. Oh, we're going to be cooking. I'm so hyped.
Newcastle are dominant at home, with Bruno Guimaraes orchestrating midfield play and Nek Voltemada leading the attack. Newcastle to win this 2-1, with Fulham grabbing a consolation goal.
Over to Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Brighton and Hove Albion. Manchester United beat Liverpool 2-1. Manchester United beat Sunderland 2-0. And they're facing Brighton though, which are doing very well. They beat a really good side in Newcastle. They are looking really good. Danny Welbeck at 34 is playing better than he was in his 20s. Doesn't matter, João Pedro's gone. Brighton are balling. I still feel like they're gonna hit 7th place at least. And Man United, yes, you have won back-to-back, but you're inconsistent. You've shown it throughout this season. You've shown it throughout all the seasons that you're inconsistent. So you're not going to win this. But because you're at Old Trafford, supported by your Manchester United fans, you are not going to lose. And Brighton have not been perfect this season. So it's a tough one. A Desmond Tutu seems like a likely outcome.
Manchester United have struggled for consistency, and Brighton have been resilient away from home. Both teams are capable of finding the net, making a 2-2 draw a likely outcome in this back-and-forth encounter.
Over to the G-Tech Community Stadium, where Brentford face Liverpool. Liverpool have just won 5-1 against Eintracht Frankfurt in the Champions League. They've stopped their drought of like 4 to 5 losses in a row in all competitions. They're not going to lose again. I don't see them losing against Brentford, and we all have to admit, Brentford are in a relegation battle this season. Even though they have just beat West Ham 2-0, West Ham just played really bad, in my opinion. But Brentford, you're going to score 2 goals because Liverpool definitely have some concerns defensively this season. But Liverpool, you're going to score 4 goals. Play Ekitike, even play Chiesa, why not? Salah hasn't been hitting it. Salah can come on off the bench. He is still a really good player, Salah. Just at the moment, maybe try other players. Overall, Liverpool still have a good side. There's still quality there. Arne Slot has proven he can work well in management. He's proven it in the Dutch league, and he's even proven it with Liverpool. So Liverpool winning 4-2 can definitely happen.
Liverpool's attack is potent and should break Brentford down, scoring 3 goals, while Brentford are expected to score once. The final scoreline is likely to read 3-1 in favour of Liverpool.
Over to the Molineux Stadium, it is Wolves versus Burnley. And Burnley, well done on your 2-0 win over Leeds United. And Luam Chuana, if I've mispronounced that, I'm sorry. But what a goal. What an absolute screamer. That is a goal of the week contester, 100%. Stay tuned for my goal of the week at the end of the video. But Burnley, they're outside the relegation zone, whilst Wolves are actually in it. But Wolves, I feel like you've had a lot of performances this season. A performance against Spuds, which I thought you could have easily got a win. A performance against Brighton, which I thought you could easily get a win. There has been times where you don't look bad. And if you think about it, it's been 8 games now, and they have yet to get a win. It's going to happen at some point. And what better time to face one of the easiest sides to play against in Burnley. Look, Burnley are a good side, and it's going to be low scoring because of how hard Burnley's defence is to break down. But Wolves, if they were to win against a team, it would be Burnley, wouldn't it? And Wolves, there's no way they're this bad. I thought they're going to be a bit more competitive. This is a perfect time for them to win. I'm going 1-0 to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Plus they're at home. I feel like Wolves are going to dominate, just like Leeds did against Burnley. They're going to dominate, but this time they're going to get 3 points and not bottle it like they did against Brighton and Spuds. But it's going to be a very close game.
Burnley have struggled defensively this season, conceding 13 goals in 6 matches. Wolves should exploit these weaknesses at home to secure a 2-1 win.
Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. a London derby. This one I think is possibly game of the week. Jean-Phillipe Mateta. That's all I need to say. Actually, I'm going to elaborate a bit more. Hat-trick. No, he could have scored more. Mateta could have scored more than that puny hat-trick. He was a bit disappointed, and for good reason. Number one, in the first half, he could have scored a couple of goals. You know, Crystal Palace had like 20 shots compared to Bournemouth's 8. Something like that. 11 shots Mateta had, the majority, and scored 3 goals. He could have scored way more, especially right near the end. They could have got a winner, and that was such an easy goal to put away, but he didn't. And Crystal Palace still looked good, even after making history with like a 19 Premier League unbeaten run. Even after that and losing, they're still playing well. And they're still balancing Conference League and Premier League really well. And you know what? Atletico Madrid could not break that Arsenal defence, because that Arsenal defence is rock solid. But Crystal Palace can. I've seen what they can do in the attack, and they will score 1 goal past Arsenal, but Arsenal have too much firepower. And I don't think Crystal Palace can score more than 1. If the likes of a world-class side in Atletico Madrid can't even score 1, and Arsenal have the best defensive record, I don't see Crystal Palace scoring any more than 1, especially at the Emirates Stadium. That's why I'm going 3-1 to Arsenal. Look, Victor Gyökeres scored 2 goals in the last game. You've got the likes of Saka, which can assist. You've got Eze. You've got Odegaard. You've got Declan Rice, which can even attack at times, as he can be a good box-to-box midfielder as well, to defend and attack. But Crystal Palace, it seems inevitable going against Arsenal. But it will be close for the majority of the game, but it will open up in the last 30 minutes of the game. It will be 1-1, then Arsenal will score 2 goals. I've seen this a lot. Loads of goals come late on, and in this game, a couple of Arsenal goals is going to come late on.
Arsenal have been dominant at home, boasting the league's best defensive record, with only 3 goals conceded in 8 games. Bristol Palace, despite strong starts to the season, has struggled against top sides, making Arsenal favourites for a 3-1 victory.
Over to Villa Park. It's Aston Villa, and they face Manchester City. Back-to-back games of the week. That's why they're on my thumbnail. Aston Villa, you won the last game against Tottenham, starting to score goals. Now, aren't you, Aston Villa? But yesterday, you lost to go-ahead Eagles. That's not really impressive. Now, you did win against Feyenoord, you have won against Bologna, and you have been on this winning streak in the Premier League. So you're going to give a good fight against Man City. I'm going to say one player, and it's boring at this point. Erling Haaland. Man City 2, Aston Villa 1. Let's move on to the next game.
Manchester City are ruthless in attack, and Villa's defence is likely to buckle under pressure. Expect City to dominate possession and score 4 goals without reply. 4-0.
To the Vitality Stadium, AFC Bournemouth versus Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest. There with all the managerial spiciness. Another sacking. After sacking Nuno, because I think of relationship issues with Marinakis, they've now sacked Ange. I mean, he's only had 8 games in all competitions, I think. I don't know whether that's exactly, but he hasn't had that long. He's had like a month with Nottingham Forest, which is not enough. And now they've brought in Sean Dyche. They've just beaten Porto, a good Portuguese team, 2-0 in the Europa League. Nottingham aren't losing this. With a manager bouncing Sean Dyche, they are not losing. And because I'm saying Sean Dyche, it really is telling of the status of Nottingham Forest. If you've got Sean Dyche under the helm of Nottingham Forest, you're in a relegation battle. That is known. And Sean Dyche is an expert of relegation battles. And after winning 2-0 against Porto, even though they may be tired against Bournemouth, they're going to get a point. There's no way they're losing again with Sean Dyche. After a 2-0 win, it's a momentum bounce, it's a morale booster, it's a confidence booster. It's going to be 1-1. If this was at the City ground and they had even more time, Nottingham Forest, I may even go for you to win. But Bournemouth are too good. Even without David Brooks, they've got Kluivert. They've got Semenyo. And the defence is still holding up good. So 1-1, I can't split it. I am still tempted to go for an upset to Nottingham, but Bournemouth are too good to lose.
AFC Bournemouth have been impressive at home, winning 3 of their 4 matches this season, including a 3-1 comeback against Fulham. In contrast, Nottingham Forest are winless on the road with a 0-2-2 record and only 2 goals scored away from home. So with that in mind, I'm going 2-1 to Bournemouth at the Vitality.
Everton versus Tottenham Hotspur. The sack of potatoes and spuds. A 0-0 draw against Monaco. Ouch. You didn't create too many shots in that game compared to Monaco. And to be honest, Tottenham, you lost to Aston Villa. And you've got 9 unavailable players. And I'm saying this now, if Kulusevski was fully fit, and if he was not injured, someone like him could really spice up this match and make it 2-1 to Tottenham. But because Everton have the likes of Tawaski, because they got Jordan Pickford, it's going to be hard to break down Everton, especially the way David Moyes sets up his defence. Tottenham are going to struggle, but they still got a good side. They've still got Kudus. They've still got Xavi Simons. Even with Romero injured, they've still got Van de Ven in the defence, which can even apply some attacking spark. Maybe not necessarily shooting spark, but to get the attack going, he can really help with. Van de Ven, that is. And with Thomas Frank, he can definitely work his team together, even with all these injuries, and get at least a draw. I'm not confident with Tottenham to get a win because it's at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and Everton have a really good record at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. So I'm going down the middle for another 1-1 draw. A bit boring, I know, but at least it's going to be right. At least I hope it's going to be right. Everton, they are still a good side, and they are doing very well under David Moyes, so I don't see them losing.
Tottenham's impressive away record and Everton's solid home form suggest a closely contested match. However, Tottenham's superior attacking options and recent form may give them the edge, leading to a 2-1 victory.
Over to goal of the week, and I'm giving it to Luam Chuona. It was a thunderstrike for Burnley, but I'm gonna have to mention Nick Volta made it as runners-up. That was a cheeky little finish by him. Let me know what you think of my predictions, ChatGPT predictions, and whose do you think is better? My predictions or ChatGPT's? Whose is more correct, in your opinion? If you want, you can like and subscribe, or even hype the video, which is possible. But you don't have to. It's not like I've got you at gunpoint or anything, so you're fine there. Or do I? Toodaloo.